When it comes to understanding how women truly fall in love, one of the most profound truths is this. For most women, love doesn't begin with appearance, charm, or even chemistry. It begins with emotional connection. Before she even realizes it, she starts forming an attachment based on how she feels in your presence, safe, understood, and emotionally seen. It's not about the words you say, it's about the emotional space you create. Women are emotional beings by nature, but not in the shallow way society often portrays them. Their emotions are layered, intuitive, and deeply responsive to how someone makes them feel internally. When a woman begins to connect emotionally, she starts noticing the smallest gestures, the tone in your voice when you speak to her, the way you respond when she's vulnerable, the presence you bring when she's quiet. Emotional connection for her is not about grand confessions or constant communication. It's about feeling understood without needing to explain herself. It's when you ask a question and genuinely care about the answer. It's when you remember something small she mentioned weeks ago and bring it up casually. Those are the invisible threads that start weaving emotional intimacy. In the beginning, attraction might catch her attention, but it rarely holds it. Physical attraction can fade, but emotional resonance stays. When she starts feeling emotionally connected, she doesn't just like you, she begins to trust you, and trust is the foundation of her affection. For a woman, love without emotional safety doesn't exist. She needs to feel that her emotions aren't a burden, that her softness won't be taken advantage of, and that her honesty won't be used against her later. Once that emotional safety is present, something inside her relaxes. She begins to open up more, laugh more genuinely, and allow herself to be seen. Many men underestimate the power of emotional presence. They focus on what to say next, how to impress, how to appear confident. But women notice what's felt, not just what's said. Your energy, your patience, your ability to listen without rushing to fix everything. Those things communicate far more than words ever can. Emotional connection is built through moments that seem ordinary but feel extraordinary because of the sincerity behind them. A conversation that lingers at midnight, a silence that doesn't feel uncomfortable, a look that says, "I understand," without speaking. That's what draws her in. What most people miss is that emotional connection doesn't happen quickly. It's a gradual unfolding, like trust blooming in layers. A woman observes consistency before allowing herself to invest emotionally. She'll notice how you react when she's distant, how you handle disagreement, whether your words align with your actions. Each small moment either strengthens or weakens her emotional bond. She doesn't fall in love all at once. She falls through moments that make her feel emotionally safe, seen, and valued. And that's where depth lies. Physical attraction might light the spark, but emotional connection keeps the flame alive. It's what allows love to evolve into partnership, friendship, and emotional intimacy. When she feels emotionally connected, she starts to mirror your energy. She invests, she nurtures, she supports. That's the stage where her love becomes more than emotion. It becomes devotion, shaped by the feeling of emotional alignment she experiences with you. So, when people ask how women fall in love, the answer isn't in grand gestures or constant pursuit. It's in emotional understanding, being able to connect with her heart without trying to control it, making her feel that her emotions are safe around you, and showing her that love can exist in quiet understanding, not just loud declarations. When a woman starts to fall in love, it's rarely because someone said the perfect words. It's because someone paid attention in a world that constantly distracts. Attention for her is more than just hearing what she says. It's being present. It's the ability to make her feel like, in that moment, she is the only person that matters. The human heart naturally seeks recognition, but for women, emotional recognition carries deeper meaning. When she speaks and feels genuinely heard, she begins to associate safety, value, and importance with the person who listens. This is the foundation of emotional intimacy. Presence doesn't require big gestures or endless conversations. It's found in the little things, maintaining eye contact when she talks, putting your phone away, remembering details she shared, asking about something she mentioned casually. It's when your curiosity about her is not performative, but genuine. Women notice when attention is scattered or forced. They feel when your presence is half-hearted. True attention cannot be faked because emotional energy doesn't lie. The difference between someone listening to reply and someone listening to understand is easily felt. When a woman senses the latter, her emotional walls begin to lower. In today's world, where distractions are endless, presence has become a rare form of intimacy. Giving someone undivided attention has more emotional impact than 1,000 compliments. It's how she starts to connect, not through superficial excitement, but through the calm certainty that she's being seen, not just looked at. When you remember something she shared and bring it up later, she doesn't just feel flattered, she feels valued. That's the moment emotional attachment begins. Because for her, love is built on being noticed in the small, quiet ways that others often overlook. Attention also creates emotional safety. When you pay attention to her feelings, her tone, her energy, you begin to communicate empathy without even speaking. You can sense when she's distant, tired, or emotionally overwhelmed. That awareness tells her that you don't just see her when she's smiling, you also see her when she's struggling. This kind of presence builds deep trust. It's not about fixing her problems, but standing with her in them. Emotional maturity in love doesn't come from trying to solve everything. It comes from showing that you care enough to stay emotionally present through both silence and storm. A woman will often test presence unconsciously. She'll mention something important and see if you remember later. She'll express something vulnerable and notice if you shift the subject or sit with it. She's not doing this to manipulate. She's doing it to measure safety. Because to her, love cannot exist without emotional presence. The more she feels you're truly there, mind, heart, and attention aligned, the more she allows herself to open. When she talks about something that excites her and you listen with genuine enthusiasm, she feels validated. When she shares her fears and you don't minimize them, she feels protected. Those are the moments that create emotional gravity. Attention is also how she starts to differentiate between temporary attraction and lasting connection. Anyone can be charming for a moment, but being consistently attentive takes emotional effort. It means showing up even when there's no reward, even when it's inconvenient, even when she's not in her best mood. It's about understanding that real presence isn't about being physically there, it's about being emotionally available. The man who gives his attention freely with patience and sincerity becomes rare in her world. Over time, she begins to associate your presence with peace. When she's around you, she feels lighter, calmer, and understood. That's when emotional bonding deepens. Her love doesn't grow because of perfection, it grows because of consistency, because attention isn't about intensity, it's about continuity. When she feels you truly see her, not as an idea but as a whole person, she starts to let her guard down. And that's when emotional attachment quietly takes root, turning simple connection into something deeper and unforgettable. When a woman begins to fall in love, what draws her in is not unpredictability or chaos, it's consistency. Consistency builds trust, and trust is the soil where her emotions begin to grow. She may be intrigued by confidence, humor, or charm at first, but those things fade quickly if they're not supported by stability. What makes her heart open over time is knowing that your words, actions, and energy remain steady. For her, love doesn't bloom in uncertainty, it blooms in emotional safety. A woman falls for the man who shows up not just when it's convenient, but when it truly matters. Consistency isn't about grand promises or constant attention, it's about reliability. It's in the way you keep your word, respond when you say you will, and maintain the same respect whether she's beside you or not. Emotional stability means she doesn't have to wonder where she stands. It's not about perfection, it's about predictability and character. She needs to feel that your affection isn't fleeting, that it doesn't fluctuate with mood, circumstance, or ego. When your energy stays grounded, she begins to relax emotionally. That relaxation is what allows her to let down her guard and trust the bond developing between you. Many people underestimate how deeply inconsistency affects a woman's emotions. The same way consistency builds love, inconsistency destroys it. When words and actions don't align, her mind starts protecting her heart. She withdraws not because she's cold, but because she feels unsafe. Emotional instability makes her question everything, not just you, but her own judgment. A woman values emotional clarity. When you're consistent, you communicate that her emotions are safe with you, that she doesn't need to guess your intentions, and that your presence is not temporary. For women, love grows when effort becomes dependable. It's the small, repetitive actions that matter most. Checking in, showing care, being respectful even in disagreement, and not vanishing when things get difficult. These moments form emotional proof. Every time you follow through, her trust strengthens. Every time you react with patience instead of frustration, her attachment deepens. Consistency tells her that your interest isn't performative. It's not about trying to win her, it's about valuing her. Stability also means emotional balance. It's not only about showing up physically, but being emotionally centered. Women are highly attuned to emotional energy. They sense tension, irritation, and disconnection quickly. If your emotions swing unpredictably, she begins to feel uncertain. But when you remain calm, grounded, and emotionally mature, especially during conflict, you communicate emotional safety. That's what allows her to be vulnerable without fear of rejection or emotional punishment. She starts to see you as someone she can lean on, not someone she has to guard herself against. Consistency builds an emotional rhythm. It's like music. When the tempo is steady, she feels harmony. When it's erratic, she feels anxiety. This rhythm becomes her emotional comfort zone. Over time, she starts to connect your presence with peace and reliability. She knows what to expect, not because the relationship is predictable, but because your character is. That's the kind of consistency that turns affection into emotional loyalty. What makes this quality so powerful is how rare it is. Many people start strong and fade. They show interest until the challenge ends, then disappear. But consistency doesn't seek validation. It builds connection through presence. It's showing that the way you treat her doesn't change based on convenience or outcome. It's being patient when she's distant, understanding when she's overwhelmed, and steady when life gets difficult. Over time, consistency transforms into emotional stability, the kind that allows her to feel secure even in silence. She doesn't need constant reassurance because your actions have already proven reliability. That's when she begins to love with depth. Because love for her is not about how you make her feel once, it's about how you make her feel every time. When a woman starts to fall in love, what often draws her closer is not charm, looks, or even shared interests. It's respect. Respect is the language of emotional intelligence, and for women, it speaks louder than any declaration of love. A woman feels emotionally connected to a man who values her individuality, honors her emotions, and treats her with dignity even in moments of disagreement. It's not about agreeing with everything she says, but about understanding her perspective without belittling it. Respect allows her to feel seen, not as someone to impress, but as someone whose inner world truly matters. Emotional intelligence is what shapes that respect into something meaningful. It's the ability to navigate emotions, both yours and hers, with awareness and maturity. Women naturally notice how a man handles emotions, not only when things are calm, but especially when they're not. If you can stay grounded in conflict, listen before reacting, and respond without ego, she begins to trust your emotional depth. Emotional intelligence shows her that you're not just emotionally available, you're emotionally safe. It's in those moments of patience, empathy, and restraint that her affection starts to deepen. Respect also means allowing her to express herself fully. Women fall in love with the feeling of being emotionally accepted when they don't have to shrink or censor themselves to keep the peace. If she feels that she can express her fears, desires, and opinions without being dismissed or mocked, she begins to associate you with emotional safety. That kind of openness is where love begins to take root. When she senses that her voice holds weight and her emotions are valid, she feels valued as a person, not just desired as a partner. A woman also observes how you treat others, not just her. The way you speak to people, handle pressure, or respond to disagreement says more about your emotional maturity than any words you could say to her. Respect for others reflects the emotional discipline that she seeks in a partner, because emotional intelligence isn't just about kindness, it's about self-control, empathy, and awareness. A woman feels secure when she sees that you can manage your emotions rather than be controlled by them. That stability allows her to trust that you won't use anger, silence, or manipulation as tools in connection. When emotional intelligence meets respect, a woman feels emotionally nourished. It's the difference between being loved and being understood. She doesn't fall in love with perfection. She falls in love with presence, with the ability to listen without judgment, to offer comfort without controlling, and to stand with her in emotional truth without withdrawing. For her, respect means emotional balance, a space where she doesn't have to constantly explain herself or defend her feelings. It's when her emotions are treated as part part of her humanity, not as weaknesses to fix or criticize. In emotionally intelligent love, silence is not used as punishment, and vulnerability is not met with shame. You don't win arguments at the cost of connection. You don't try to dominate the conversation to prove a point. Instead, you listen to understand and speak to heal. That's what emotional maturity looks like, and that's what respect feels like to a woman who's ready to love. When you can hold space for her emotions without trying to control the outcome, you create a safe emotional atmosphere. That safety allows her to open her heart without hesitation. Over time, this respect builds emotional admiration. She starts to look at you differently, not just as someone she loves, but as someone she respects. And that respect becomes the emotional backbone of her love. Because for a woman, love that lacks respect feels unstable, and respect that lacks emotional depth feels distant. It's the blend of the two, your steadiness, your patience, your ability to understand her emotional language, that makes her feel connected on a deeper level than words could ever describe. When a woman falls in love, it doesn't happen in a single moment of passion or through dramatic gestures. It happens gradually through the quiet unfolding of emotional vulnerability. A woman's heart doesn't open instantly, it opens layer by layer as she begins to feel emotionally safe. She may appear confident, composed, and independent on the outside, but beneath that strength lies a deep need for emotional understanding. When she senses that she can let her guard down without being judged, mocked, or dismissed, she begins to trust, and that trust slowly turns into emotional intimacy, which becomes the foundation of her love. For most women, vulnerability isn't about sharing everything all at once. It's about testing emotional safety. She'll reveal small parts of herself first, a story from her past, an insecurity, or a quiet fear, not to seek attention, but to see how you handle it. If you respond with patience, compassion, and respect, she begins to feel emotionally seen. Every time you respond gently to her truth, she opens another layer. Emotional vulnerability is not a weakness for her. It's a gift she gives when she feels protected enough to be real. The reason this process takes time is because emotional vulnerability requires trust, and trust cannot be rushed. Many women have experienced moments where their emotions were invalidated, their honesty was used against them, or their openness was met with indifference. So when she begins to care for someone, her heart naturally hesitates. She watches how you handle emotional intensity, how you react when she's not cheerful, and how you hold space for her sadness. These moments tell her whether you're capable of handling the depth of her emotions without retreating or shutting down. When she starts feeling emotionally safe, her behavior begins to shift subtly. She starts to share more openly, laugh more freely, and express affection without hesitation. Vulnerability makes her softer, but that softness isn't fragility, and it's trust in motion. It's her way of saying, I believe I can be myself around you. That's why women don't fall in love through pressure or persuasion. They fall in love through consistency, patience, and emotional understanding. The man who can listen without trying to fix, who can stay when she's emotional rather than walking away, earns her vulnerability. What's important to understand is that vulnerability doesn't only show through words. It appears in gestures, silence, and energy. When a woman allows you to see her without makeup, when she shares something that scares her, when she cries without hiding her face, these are moments of emotional courage. They mean she's letting you into the parts of her that the world rarely sees. She doesn't need you to solve her problems. She needs you to hold space for her emotions. That act alone builds a powerful emotional bond that deepens her love in ways that logic can't explain. Emotional vulnerability also brings emotional depth into the relationship. When she opens up, she's not just revealing feelings, she's allowing you to understand her emotional rhythm, her hopes, fears, values, and dreams. This deep emotional exchange is what transforms attraction into genuine connection. She starts to see you not just as someone she desires, but as someone she trusts with her emotional world. That's when love begins to take root in the truest sense, not as a fleeting feeling, but as a deep emotional bond that grows stronger with time. The beauty of gradual vulnerability is that it creates emotional balance. She opens up because you've shown consistency, respect, and care. Her love isn't impulsive, it's thoughtful and deeply felt. Every shared secret, every honest conversation, every moment of raw truth becomes a thread that weaves intimacy between you. The more she feels understood, the more she reveals her inner self, and each layer she uncovers brings her closer, not because she has to, but because she wants to. That's how women fall in love, slowly, emotionally, and through the sacred act of being truly seen. When a woman truly falls in love, it's never just because of fleeting attraction or romantic gestures. What anchors her heart is a sense of shared vision, a connection that goes beyond the present moment. Love becomes real for her when she feels emotionally aligned with someone who not only understands her, but shares her direction in life. Emotional bonding deepens when she realizes that her values, dreams, and emotional rhythm are respected and reciprocated. This alignment creates a feeling of partnership rather than pursuit, and that's what transforms affection into lasting attachment. A shared vision doesn't necessarily mean identical goals or lifestyles. It's about emotional compatibility, seeing life through a similar lens, valuing the same principles, and moving in harmony towards something meaningful together. When a woman feels that her dreams are safe with someone, she starts to imagine a future with them. It's not about dependence, but emotional synergy. She begins to invest her emotions not because she's infatuated, but because she feels connected to something greater than herself, a shared emotional and spiritual path. That sense of we replaces me, and love becomes a journey instead of a destination. Emotional bonding is what strengthens this shared vision. It's built in the quiet, everyday moments, in laughter, in honest conversations, in mutual growth. For a woman, love is not sustained by intensity, but by emotional partnership. She feels closest when she's emotionally understood and when both partners can be real without pretense. It's in those moments of genuine connection when words aren't needed that she realizes she's emotionally safe. The feeling of belonging doesn't come from promises or perfection. It comes from shared emotional space where both individuals feel seen and accepted. When she feels that you not only listen but also align with her values and the way she views relationships, family, faith, ambition, or peace, her heart naturally opens more. This doesn't mean agreeing on everything, but it means respecting the emotional foundation she stands on. Women are intuitive about emotional misalignment. If the vision feels mismatched, if one is moving forward while the other stays still, she begins to pull back emotionally. But when she senses that you understand her direction and walk beside her with steadiness, she invests deeper. Because for her, emotional security comes from knowing that her heart and her future are moving in the same direction. This shared emotional vision also nurtures growth. In such a bond, love doesn't limit, it expands. Both individuals encourage each other to evolve, heal, and pursue their highest selves. A woman falls in love with the feeling of growing with someone, not around them. When she sees that you support her dreams without insecurity or competition, she feels emotionally free. That freedom becomes one of the strongest forms of love, one that's built on partnership, not possession. Emotional bonding thrives in this space because it's rooted in mutual respect, shared values, and emotional depth. For a woman, emotional bonding is also about rhythm, the emotional flow between two people that feels natural and effortless. It's in the way conversations never feel forced, in the comfort of silence that doesn't need to be filled, and in the presence that feels like home. When she experiences this balance, she starts to trust not just you, but the connection itself. That trust makes her vulnerable in the best way possible. She allows her emotions to intertwine with yours because she believes in the emotional stability that the relationship provides. In this stage, love becomes more than just feeling. It becomes emotional partnership, a bond of shared growth, mutual purpose, and deep understanding. It's the comfort of knowing that someone not only loves you, but also aligns with who you are and who you're becoming. That's the kind of love women crave, one that feels emotionally steady, spiritually aligned, and rooted in a shared vision that grows stronger with time. In the end, understanding how women fall in love isn't about learning tactics or memorizing emotional patterns. It's about awareness, patience, and emotional depth. Love for a woman is a journey of trust built through connection, not control. She doesn't fall for what she hears once. She falls for what she feels repeatedly. From emotional connection and attentive presence to consistency, respect, vulnerability, and shared vision, each step forms an invisible thread that weaves love into something real. A woman's heart opens when she feels emotionally seen, not just desired. She loves the way someone makes her feel understood, safe, and valued. And once she experiences that kind of emotional harmony, her love becomes steady, loyal, and deeply rooted. It's not the rush of newness that keeps her. It's the peace of emotional safety, the calm of stability, and the warmth of shared understanding. true love for her isn't about perfection or fantasy. It's about emotional alignment, a space where both hearts grow together. When she finds that, she doesn't just fall in love. She chooses to stay in love every single day.